duties this morning, so. I think we're good.
Good morning.
Right.
Good morning. Thank you, Cody. Welcome to the technology meeting for September 18th, 2023. Do we have Teresa not here to do a roll call, or do we do a?
She's actually out today, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do a quick roll call. Michael Lazio.
Here.
Lori Lemunion.
Here.
Joycelyn Burgo, are you online? Not yet. We need it. We can't do any voting items.
Yeah, well,
We just have to vote on the minutes.
technically we can because 2 out of 3 are here. The
Oh, yeah.
president is technically ex officio, so he only votes if we don't need a quorum.
Okay.
So we have 2, maybe 3, so we are fine.
Okay. Thanks, Susan.
Please let us know when Joycelyn gets back on, would you please, Cody?
Can do that.
Thank you very much. All right, we will call the meeting to order then.
Approval of the agenda.
Oh, yes. We need,
Yeah.
sorry. So we need approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right, we'll vote. I'll say yes.
I second.
Okay. I have to second. Do I second?
Yep, you said.
All right. Okay, next slide.
That's the agenda. And we need to approve last time's meeting minutes.
All right, and so do I have a motion to approve the minutes from June the 9th, 19th?
I'm going to make that motion to approve meeting minutes of June 19th.
All right, and I will second that. And so they're approved.
All right. Minutes. We were going to do a quick review this time of kind of where we landed the 22-23 fiscal year. So I just got some stats on there that we can take a look at real quick. So we had a good year. So these are kind of some of the base stats we reported on last time. So at the top, we have learning and training. So this consists of all of our programming that we do with our public, and then all of our kind of in-house staff training. One thing to note is we had a few less virtual customer programming and a little bit more in-person programming because we're kind of shifting back to in-person programs. We did 48 in-person programs in 21-22, and this year we did 154 in-person programs. So quite a big jump in that. The staff-led training. I did have a comment that we got from a customer that I'd like to read real quick. So I thought it was really good, and it was for one of our programs called Internet Safety Basics. And it said, I was stunned by what safety measures are available. It is risky not to be exposed to this info and be using devices unaware. I am a senior and need to be safe. I would rate this program as mandatory. So I really like that. I thought that was really nice. We have a lot of people show up to those types of programs. It's amazing how many people still need to know these things. Just the basics, how to use the smartphone or how to secure their device. So I really like that comment a lot. We had a lot of instructor-led training. We kind of straddle the fence with our learning management system. We have a lot of in-person staff training around new hires. And then we also have a whole system for people to come in and watch videos and do quick training if they need to. So there's a lot of those. And the e-learning courses were up quite a bit this year. We piled in.
So the 154 in-person programs, that's like sessions, that's not how many people attend.
That's not how many people attend.
Okay.
That's how many we offered this year.
All right, and the same thing with the the e-learning staff course completion?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Those were up nicely this year. We did have a lot of new staff in the last year, coming off of COVID and getting our branches back open. We had a lot of new staff. We really had to kind of crank that up a little bit. We did have a lot of great staff feedback around those, generally around just how thorough we are at getting our new hires trained and getting them ready to work in a branch. So that was really great to have all of that feedback about our learning and training here that we do. And I have a whole department that does just that.
So could I ask the request before the meeting tomorrow?
Yeah.
You mentioned some of the numbers. I'm wondering if you could have like a 20, the 2022, 2023, but then the 2021 to 2022 for the year before, just to have the comparison so we can see, hey, this dropped off or this went higher. Because I think your numbers, I mean, you mentioned it, but I think just having a visual is nice just to add to that slide to show us kind of the differences and I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, I can do that. So going on down to the website, I'll get the 21, 22 numbers.
Yeah, sure.
For all of this. So for the website, the research pretty much the same as last year. Those numbers were very solid. It's up a few thousand, but not like a huge percentage or anything. And it tends to be very solid. If you look at a graph of that, it's pretty status quo every year from year to year. When we talk about website sessions, those were up. I don't have the percentage. I don't have that in my notes. It was up. It is up about 10%, I think, from last year. And the online catalog sessions are up about 10% also. And remember that sessions are not the same as like a door count. These are anytime somebody comes and uses the website. So like if I come in and I hit the main page and then I go to research and learning, those two things count for a session. So it's equivalent of somebody walking into one of our branches and attending a program and using an internet session or checking out a book. They're doing multiple things when they come in. So that's a session. So it's not quite the equivalent, but it's a number that we use to kind of judge how the website is doing and how people are using it. And that way we can look at usage over time. Last month in June, remember, we looked at a lot of analytics from our company called Interpersonal Frequency about customer feedback and how people are using the site. And so we have all of that stuff. We'll be doing that again here in October. We'll be looking at another half a year of that stuff in October, I think. So pretty solid year on the website and the catalog. We have a ton of people. Obviously, the catalog is almost as important as our website. People use it a lot to find books. So that's where we are kind of in the virtual space. On down to internet access. These are all of our physical internet that people come in and use us for or check out. So public computer sessions, we're up about 20% over last year. And remember, we still had North Oak closed. We had some branches closed. They would add probably 10 or 12,000 more sessions to that if they were open. So we had a pretty good year. The public computer sessions are coming back slowly, but they're coming back. The guest Wi-Fi sessions, this is just the open Wi-Fi that we provide in branch for people to come in and use their devices. That was up about 11% over last year. We had a really good year with the Wi-Fi. And then we also check out Chromebooks for people to use. This was our first full year of Chromebook checkouts. So we had about 1,100 checkouts for those. And we have
of like how many we thought we would have. How many Chromebooks did we have available?
We had 200.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're unfortunately some of them haven't been brought back. So we're working on that. We don't charge fines for the Chromebook to go or the Wi-Fi to go if they bring the device back. If they check them out and they don't bring it back, then we send them a bill for it. The Wi-Fi to go is like that also. People tend to take them and sometimes they don't come back. And there's a way for us to redo those without having to pay all that price for them. The Chromebooks are not like that. We do have to
Do we have
replace those.
insurance on those for when people are taking them?
No, we don't. We just send them a bill. And then like we're getting ready to kind of fill that number back up again, but we're using a grant from the state of Missouri to fill that number.
So there's no tracking on any?
We actually disable the devices.
Okay,
And so if they don't come back after it's like 1 week after they're due, then we know that we have a report that tells us that, and then we go in and we disable the device.
okay.
Same on the Wi-Fi to go, the little hotspots we check out 1 week after they're due, we go in and we
I think
disable
you
the
remember
device.
talking about the hot
Yeah.
spots, but I didn't
Yes.
know about the Chrome.
Yes, and that tends to, in general, that tends to make them come back.
Okay.
So how many do we have of the 200 that have not come back?
About 60, believe it or not.
Wow.
And that's pretty standard in library land. And the Wi-Fi to go, we have 500 of those that we check out. That number is actually down from last year, and I will take the blame for that one. We were having some issues like managing those on a day-to-day basis and making sure they're being processed properly. So we kind of let the numbers dwindle down a little bit, and then we did a big order and we got them back up to 500, but we wanted to kind of update our internal processes for taking care of them. So there was a huge hold list on those. And when we filled that all back up, that filled all those holds. So I'm sure that number will go right back up again.
Okay.
So you're saying that we have 60 Chromebooks
Mhm.
remaining.
Mhm.
And to fill that gap, there's a grant that would fill
Yes.
that. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't be taxpayer funds used to do.
Right. Yeah, we're using it's called a Tech Ladder grant from the state of Missouri the state library that we're using to fill those back up again. So, yeah.
So I have a question that goes
Yeah.
with the computer, the public computer sessions.
Yeah.
So I know like one of the main uses that people will say over and over and over to me is, oh, I'm so grateful for the library because I can go and print something. Do we keep track of like how many things we're printing, or like, are we using, like maybe we keep track of paper that we're using or whatever?
We can't pull the number of prints, I think. We can't do that. Yeah, I don't think people do the printing quite as much as they used to. In the early days, when we first started putting this out, printing was a huge but I don't think it gets used quite as much as it used to. But that's something I can find out. So it's something we don't look at on a day-to-day basis, how much we print.
I'm just curious because I know so many people are like, it's such a lifesaver because nobody has printers in their home anymore and everybody uses their phone. So when they have to print something that requires the wet signature, they're like,
Yeah,
where do I go? To the library?
yeah. We still have all of that available, and people do use it. But yeah, we'll find out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last thing that I always report on, because it's underneath my umbrella, is the Excel Adult High School. And we actually had 24 graduates from that program this year. We had 23 last year. And we had the same 13 that claimed Mid-Continent as their home library system. So we had 13 last year as well. So a great year on that. I think it was back in June. Aaron, didn't you and I go to a graduation down at Literacy Casey hosted for that? Great fun. If you ever have a chance to go to one of those, we'll let you know.
So do we partner with all of the high schools? Like, do all of the high schools know about that program? And
We don't actually. It's actually for everyone 18. It's over 18. And it's because we don't want to compete with our local schools because they're trying to get the kids back into school.
right, but I'm talking about like after, like if they didn't successfully graduate, like if if those programs are steering them to us, because I mean, while 24 is a great number and I'm glad 24 people graduated, I know there's a lot more kids that are falling through the cracks that are 18, 19, 20 who never finished school that I'd love to see be in this program.
Okay. Yeah. We tell them about the program and let them know that it's available. And so.
How many seats do we have available each year? Is it 100 or is it?
No, we typically buy about 40 every year.
Okay.
Is about what we buy. There's about 120 people in the program right now, and we partner with Kansas City Public and Literacy KC is who we partner with that. So they're paying 1/3 of that scholarship cost.
So when you're saying we're buying 40, what do you mean?
We're buying 40 scholarships for people to be able to be enrolled in the program is what we're doing.
So of the 24 grads, there, you said there's 120 that are in the program. So it takes them how long to complete it?
Normally about 18 months to complete, a year to 18 months to complete. So, and there's just kind of a rolling group of about 100 that are in the program.
Okay,
So
great.
yeah.
If you can attend next year, I highly recommend it. It's a very enjoyable experience. It's very uplifting.
Mhm.
But to Brian's point, the vast majority of the people are well into adulthood and for whatever reason weren't able to get high school diploma, and it's just great to see.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really awesome.
absolutely.
Literacy KC has a huge high set program also. So we kind of we pair the graduation
And what's it called?
high set. So it's like a GED, but they have a huge high set program, and we partner we pair the graduation ceremony with their ceremony. But yeah, it's a lot of people that are looking to take their career to the next level or go on to advanced education or something like that. And so it's a great ceremony. So
Are the classes in person or online?
online.
Okay.
Online. Yeah. This is actually a real high school diploma program. It's not like a GED. It does college prep, and you have to take classes. It's all accredited. So yeah, it's a pretty cool program. We had a different program a year ago. It was called, or not Excel, Career Online High School. And the state picked this program up. So they actually pay the platform fee and everything for us. All we have to do is just pay for the scholarships. That's it. Under Career Online High School, we had to pay for all of it. And it's been a really good program. The switch has been good. So
How much are the scholarships?
they are 800 a scholarship, I think. Not what they are. Yeah, it's almost exactly what they are.
And do the participants pay anything to participate in the program?
No, it's free to them.
Wonderful.
It's free to them.
Thank you.
And also, Secretary of State was there for the last graduation ceremony. He's a big supporter of the program.
Yep. So yeah, so it's a great program. We're glad that we have it. And so yeah, we've been doing that for about 10 years, I think.
I like the name, the Excel Adult High School sounds much more professional than the other name.
Career Online. Yeah.
Yeah, the
they're-
other one didn't sound, it didn't sound like what you're saying this program is doing.
They both had career focus towards getting you that promotion or getting you on to advanced education. And they stick with you afterwards and help make sure you can do your resume and get all your stuff in order. So it's a pretty cool program. So yeah, good stuff. Yeah. So that's kind of our quick look at the year in review. We did a lot. We opened a bunch of buildings. I'm going to show you the fundraising site some designs for the new fundraising site, the foundation site here in a minute. So we've got a lot done this year. That's kind of the core stats that we kind of look at on a regular basis.
That's great, thank you.
Yeah, yep. Any questions? Any other questions about that? Joycelyn, are you online?
Yeah, I am. I was gonna say exactly what you said, Brian, is that it's a really nice addition to GEDs or a high set for a person to come back and be able to actually get a high school diploma, not an equivalent or anything. So it really is helpful. But some people do choose to do the GED. Excuse me, I'm not here. Some people do choose to do a GED or high set because it might be a little quicker so they can get on with their training in other areas, but it is a really nice way for a person to complete their degree.
Yeah, we found that some of the students that came to it, if they wanted promotion in their job, they have to have a diploma, or if they want to take that next level in a certain education, they have to have that diploma. So yeah, it's a great program for that. So, yep. Thanks, Joycelyn. Okay, so the next thing that we've been working on that I kind of wanted to put a bug in everybody's ear about is myself and Alan Chapin, our IT manager, has been working on kind of what a technology refresh plan would look like. We're coming up to the end of the capital plan. A lot of our technology is going to start to be 5 and 6 years old pretty quick. So what we've done is we've kind of started to lay out, what are our immediate needs, what are some future needs that we need. And so I'm just going to kind of go over those real quick so you can kind of see where we are. We don't have any budget numbers around those yet. We're going to start plugging that in. But this is just kind of something that I want to start kind of putting out there so we can start talking about that. So the first are kind of some of our immediate needs. We know that we need to probably do a refresh on the website. And the cool part is the foundation, the new foundation site is going to give us a look at what we can do with our current setup. So we're very excited about that. We've talked before about our self-check stations. Those are in desperate need of something. We have 120 of those. We've already whittled down probably our need to somewhere around 75 or 80. We probably don't need that many anymore. Our new app that we're going to bring online here in October, November, will have checkout features in it. So a customer can check out their books themselves with it. So we're kind of prepping ourselves for the next kind of self-checkout scenario, but we still need some physical in-branch self-checkout.
So I just want to interject here that before we consider buying any stations, I want to see how the app works.
Yeah.
Because I go to the library all the time and I never see them. Like maybe one person is using the self-checkout, and we have like at my library, I think there's 6. I don't know, there's so many. And so I hate to see us, using money and investing in old technology. I'm going to call it old just because it's like, so many people are used to doing things on their phone or doing something that's fast. And if we could save that expense by doing things on the phone, I'd rather wait till our phone app goes live before we consider.
Oh yeah, this is just to say, hey, in the next soon, we need to do something with these. We've needed to do something with them for a couple of years, but actually the apps are finally coming to us. We have options now to have an app that can do checkouts, and we did a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of our branches do 50-60% of their circulation through the self-checks. So it's not something that we want to completely get rid of. And that's why we started whittling the numbers down. We always kind of had a model of let the customer decide how they want their transaction to happen. We don't want to force anything on them. So if they want to use their phone, fantastic. We want you to use your phone. If you want to use a self-check or go to the desk, also great. So that's kind of where we've always put ourselves. So we definitely have started kind of whittling those numbers down and looking where we can strategically do this stuff. So
a quick question.
Yeah.
And so on the self-checks, do we know which branches use the self-check more than other branches? Do we have data on that?
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought we did, but
Yep.
guess I've never looked at it or seen it.
Yeah, the system-wide average for self-check usage is about 51%. And we have some that get up in the mid-60s, upper 60%.
What would you say the highest branch is as far as the self-check goes? Just curious.
I was looking at that the other day. North Independence does quite a bit.
Okay.
What was the one that I was looking at? Riverside, believe it or not, does about 62 or 63% of its circuit. So there's a handful that are all in the mid 60s.
Okay.
Joycelyn has her hand up.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joycelyn. Can you hear us, Joycelyn?
Maybe not.
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry. I was going to say you're going to get greater use of self-check machines where people don't have smartphones. Believe it or not, there's still a great portion of the population that does not have smartphones. So for them to have the option of being able to check out a stack of books without a smartphone is still quite a need, in especially in some of the branches where people may not have their own, or their phone may be dead and they don't have a charger. So I don't like being totally dependent upon the technology of our customer, because again, that puts certain services out of their reach. That's all.
I would agree with that. My parents have smartphones and they like them, but they're not going to use them to do self-check. So, and they use the library a ton. So it's going to be kind of a mix and match is what we're going to do. We're not just going to go back with 120 self-checks like we have now. That's just not going to happen. So we're going to think about this in new and improved way of doing it. So yeah, and we did put out an RFQ for pricing. So just so we kind of knew what they would cost. And we got 4 responses back, and we can talk about
When's
that.
the next, like the library convention where we would be able to see some of the other technologies? Because, you know, we have we have RFID scanners. I mean, we should be able, and they beep when you go out the door without checking them out. So it almost, I mean, you know, there could be some type of even faster or better checkout than the stations that we have currently that could be more, you know,
Much better ones.
yeah. And so,
Much better.
I mean, like if we could buy one that's maybe the same price, but could do so much more. I want to make sure that we're keeping up with the, you know, because technology changes every day. And if they have some of the faster ways to use what we already have or to improve on what we have, I think that's one of the things I love about our library system is we try and remain on the cutting edge. And so I just want to, and if you could tell me in advance when that is, I'd love to go and.
It's the Public Library Association is the next one, and that only happens every other year. It is April 3rd through 5th
That's in Columbus.
in Columbus, Ohio.
That's just for public libraries too. And there's a ton of vendors there at those. There's always a ton of vendors there.
Well, I would love to go and and help you look with, you know, what's available. Because I think that's a really cool opportunity that we have in our preface, you know, like, hey, this is where we're going. And with our budget, I think that we need to definitely be scouting for what is the best thing that's coming.
If you let Teresa know that you want to attend PLA, she will make sure that you're registered and you have your hotel and all of that.
Yeah.
Registration's not open yet, but when it opens, she can handle that for you.
So we've got a couple more things that are kind of related. Staff and public use printers and copiers. Our copiers are getting pretty dated, and we think there's a way that we could combine those all into one and not have so many of these things sitting around. In line with that is public PC time and print management. I'll explain that one a little bit. This is software that controls people logging into our public PCs and all the printing that they do. That's actually really good software, but they're just not doing any updates to it anymore. It actually works really reliably. It's from a company called Envisionware, but they're not doing a lot of updates for it. So things like Chromebooks won't work with it. People that bring their devices in and want to print like from their phone or their tablet doesn't work so good with that anymore. So as things progress, that software just isn't keeping up. So it's something that we probably need to look at doing something with. I don't know where I got center at on storage system, but that should be central storage system switches. So we have 2 big switches that control our storage system that need to be updated. They still work fine, but they're just getting really dated.
Can you explain what a switch is?
So it's the storage system has network connections in it. They plug into that, and all the servers plug into those switches, and that's how the servers talk to the storage. They're just kind of the middleman for processing all the data between the devices, but it allows us to have a very open system.
It's kind of like a router, is that what you're saying?
Yep, exactly. The other thing that's also very, very old is our Woodneath book return sorter. When you go into the main entrance, it's down about as much as it's working. And there are replacements for that now, and they don't cost as much as what we spent for that one that we put in.
So just because that's my main library and I can't get inside when you return your books, wondering if we could just put like a drop-off box where you can stick them in,
Yeah,
since it's
yeah.
not working so much.
So
Like if we
that
could
one-
put that outside like we have at the other libraries, if we could somehow put a book return.
I thought we had a book return outside.
No, we
Okay,
do not.
okay, okay.
Probably should put a box.
I would greatly appreciate it because I mean, I tend to return books, because I work such
Yeah.
weird hours. And that sorter is down so much. I would really just, if we had an outside return, it would be so nice.
Yeah, it'd be good to have.
Because I don't know how long before we replaced it, but it is definitely an issue that I would love to have something that I could drop my books into.
So,
We'll look into that.
Thank you.
so we also have our fire control system for the main computer room is getting very old, something we need to do something with. And then the same with our heating and cooling system for the computer room is also, it's the original. So it's from 1987.
Now, do those two things fall under technology or they fall under the main budget?
I don't know. It's a good question. We'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. I can tell you for the HVAC system, the shell is the original piece. It's been gutted several times over when I was in there and when the other managers have been in there. So the insides have been replaced a couple of times in that amount of time. So is the outside unit. It's just the shell is the original. But a lot of the electrical wiring, all the plumbing, all that kind of stuff that runs all of it is all original. So it still works, but it's just getting a lot of age on it. The whole thing just gets some age on it.
We're planning a tour of headquarters for the trustees, so you'll be able to see some of these things that are being referenced here.
Historic.
Yeah, but,
historic part of the building.
But seeing the HVAC system for his area is important. So it really puts things into context, so you understand
Yeah, I look
what
forward to
we're
that.
working with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so that's kind of some of the immediate needs we're looking at.
Are we still hosting some of our own things in the data center? Because I thought we had most things in the cloud.
We still host a lot of just local stuff. So like the time and the PC time and print management, there's various servers for that. That we host, that just is not a cloud option for. If we change software, yeah, there's cloud options, but for this, there isn't. And then there's just some local file storage and things like that we do for archiving. So yeah, there is some storage here, but most of our primary apps we use, like all of our Microsoft stuff, is all out in the cloud. We don't host any of that here.
So what I was wondering is if we go to that convention and we can look specifically for something that would be compatible with this public PC time and
Yeah.
management, then
There's options.
if we replace that to the cloud, do we need the data center as much? That's maybe we need a list of what things are in the data center to say if it's worth our time and money investing in a data center when we're using most things in the cloud and not hosting.
There's still a lot, and there's all of our branches all come back to here. So that's the core of the network, is in there. There's a generator outside that keeps all that stuff up. So yeah, there's still a lot that comes through here. Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit to the trustees about how dispersed everything is really, like from a security standpoint?
Sure. So almost all of our primary use apps is sort of dispersed. It's not all in Azure. It's not all in AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. So most of it is what's called software as a service. So like our catalog, our online catalog, that's hosted by a company called BiblioCommons. And they don't even give you the option of hosting it locally. It's all in the cloud. CRC, the software that manages all of our patron interactions and patron data, is hosted. Microsoft obviously is all hosted. Our employee time management system and payroll system is all hosted out in the cloud. So, but it's all hosted by the people who provide the service. Our website is out hosted by somebody that manages our website. So all that stuff is sort of dispersed, which is really great because if any one of those were to get attacked, it wouldn't bring our whole network down. So what we host in here is just a lot of things that are just day-to-day things that we actually have to just kind of was like file service. I mean, we do have some bulk file storage that we have in here, but we're slowly moving that out into the cloud also. So we don't have all that here. But all of our primary applications are all hosted by whoever provides the service. It's very distributed. Like I said, it's not all in Amazon. It's not all in Microsoft. It's,
Right. And that's the advantage. That's definitely the way of our future, which is why I was saying, if we're investing in a data center here, do we need it to be as big? Do we need it to be smaller because we're only hosting maybe 1 or 2 servers in here?
Yeah.
And we could use that space for something else, and then we don't need as big of a cooler. We don't need as big of
it's used as much for storage as it is for servers. But yeah, we obviously would not need as big an air conditioner. We're putting in a new UPS this year for the room. And this is the
It's a backup power source.
uninterruptible power supply, but it's like the size of a closet. But this is the first time ever that we haven't gone to a bigger size because we don't need to go to a bigger size. We're just, the one that we have is not going to be under support anymore. And so we just need to replace it. So we're right sizing everything that we do new in that room. We're not just going out and replacing, a giant unit if we don't need to replace it. So we don't have nearly as many servers in there anymore, but the servers are way more powerful. You can condense everything down a lot. You don't need as much. So, yeah.
The reason I asked for the definition of the acronym is when I first started attending construction meetings, it was all acronyms and I had no idea what anyone was talking about.
I try not to use those.
I
try not to.
An uninterruptible power supply is if the power goes off, your computer still stays active.
Yes. I'm aware.
It's a battery.
Aware.
It's a big battery. That's what you can think of it. It's a big battery for the computer room.
I'm still trying to figure some of those out. It's like, what?
That's fun.
We've had one forever and we've always had a generator out back and we have a pretty new generator, so it's fine. And our VR site has a generator, all that kind of stuff. So it's much smaller. So yeah. So then we have kind of some 1 to 3 year needs. I'll just go over these briefly. We do have some core firewalls in here that all of our traffic routes do. That's kind of that is the cornerstone of our network is our firewalls, and that protects us and keeps us safe from the internet. We're going to need to replace those probably in a couple of years. All of our core switches in this building are probably going to need to be replaced. I think Aaron got a firsthand look at one of our closets that needs some work. Yeah. All of our public checkout laptops, that includes the ones that people use in the branch or the Chromebooks, will probably need to get swapped out at some point. And they're probably on the 3-year end of it. The handful of servers that we have in there are probably going to need to be replaced that run all of our virtual environment. And then we also have, if you've been in the branches now, at the end of some of the bookshelves, there are monitors for people to be able to browse the catalog if they're looking for something. Those are probably going to need to do something with those.
I love that.
So, yeah.
I do love that.
They work well. They work really well.
Yeah, those are very nice.
Those are nice.
Quick
We run
and
those
easy,
off
yeah.
of a Chrome stick and that monitor. That's
Yeah.
what we run them off of. It's a cheap solution, but it works great.
Those are very handy, yes.
So that's our.
Sorry, I had a
kind of-
question. Hold on, I wrote it down so I wouldn't. I write it down so I don't forget what the question is, but I'm listening. From a solar perspective, have we looked into any, like we have a lot of branches, flat roofs, they have a lot of things. Have we looked into any solar options, for the branches? It's green, right? It's green. Libraries are kind of, I think of them as being green. And I just wondered if we had, there's some incentives, for federal grants for solar. And just wondering if we had kind of from a technology perspective, grabbing that energy, grabbing that, basically generations, if our generator failed, if we had to back up solar, if the electricity went out when we had solar, it would be renewing that generator. So I just wondered, because I know there's quite a few grants that are out there and it might be something that would go hand in hand with technology.
I think the only branch we ever really looked at that is when we were trying to get the lead certification of Woodney.
It would be.
Yeah, when we were trying to do the lead certification there, because I think it's silver certified,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I believe it is.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know, I mean, you know, the technology, just like any other thing, solar has kind of come down. They've got
Yeah,
now
it's
got,
been a lot.
they've got roofing material, they've got, you know, we've got a lot of walkways that could be used. And so with the, especially at Woodneath, because there's so much open space, I mean, we could put a little solar farm out there pretty easily, but I think we might just look into it to see what the benefits are, because if we're saving money, if it would save us, like I have a friend who runs a business and they were like, well, let's look into it. And it saved them like, I want to say $12,000 in their electric the first year. And they were like, it was worth every penny. And it's like a 10-year, you know, over thing. And then they got all these benefits back from grant money. So
Yeah.
just
We've actually conducted an energy audit. I mean, it's not complete yet. So we know what it takes to power a handful of branches right now. So we're in a good position to see whether or not there's savings, which I would imagine there would.
and it's advancing so fast that it's not the old solar panels that are like hard to, they're really
It's come a
advancing.
long ways.
Yeah,
If Aaron let me plug my car in and charge it for free, I'd be happy. I'll get right on that if I can do that. So, yeah.
well, who knows? We might be able to have our power stations in the parking lot. People can come and plug their cars in. Oh, wow.
That'd be great.
So getting out there in the 5-year land, we, by that time, a lot of these new switches that we've been putting in these new buildings are going to need to be replaced. Our staff and public use desktops, these are the physical computers. We did get really good ones when we got these for the new. So they're going to hang on for a while, but we're going to need to do something with those. We've got about 1,000 of those that we're going to need to replace. Our main storage, again, probably going to come up in that 5-year range. But again, we'll figure out what we need. It probably won't be what we need now. So because we're outsourcing a lot of that. And then also just some random stuff, we do have a lot of tablets out there that people use. So those are probably going to be coming up, and the same with our desk phones. We have about 250 desk phones out there because we have a lot of shared phones out there for everybody to use. And those are in Microsoft Teams. And, if there's a big update, then at some point.
May I just make a suggestion of something that a lot of companies are doing to save on all of the expenses of staff phones? Is you have Microsoft Teams, a nice headset. You can use your phone for all videos.
I don't have a phone in my office.
I don't either.
Yeah,
And so, I mean,
use-
that's like desk phones are almost 100% because you can do soft phones on your,
Yeah.
like my team, I have a big team that works, for me, and not one person has a phone. I mean, it's like, you have a phone? So
branches.
using soft phones like from the computers would save so much money as opposed to buying the staff phones.
In our branches, most people don't have an office. They share the PCs, so they're logging in as a generic login. So a desk phone is still something that they kind of need. But we continually reduce those numbers down every time we replace
So are
them.
they sharing computers then?
Yeah.
Because if they're sharing computers, whoever's at the computer, like at mine, when we share computers, we would just log in as ourselves. So everybody would have an ACD number to be a soft phone versus having a desk phone.
We haven't got there yet, but we're getting close. So
Yeah.
the branch managers and the assistant managers have their own office in most of the branches, but not all of them. So they use their PCs for that.
Because soft phones should cut down that staff use desk phones by 90%.
Yeah, we had about 350 phones or so. We're down to like 250 now, and we just keep whittling that number down at the time. So yeah, but I don't see us need to be replacing them for a while. That's why they're out in the 5-year, and in 3 to 5 years, yeah, I would say we probably aren't going to need very many of those at all. So
Because I would think the software to use most, depending on which kind of a thing that you're using, but soft phones are a very inexpensive phone system.
Yep.
A headset that has noise canceling works sometimes better because you can hear really well and they can hear you really well versus a headset.
that's why we
Versus
like Teams.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I prefer it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, me too.
didn't use it much until I got here, and now I never used the desk phone.
Yeah, I
always
don't
used
even,
Teams.
I gave
And
mine
that's what I
up
was
a
saying
long
is,
time ago.
there's really, that's what he was saying about the expense of replacing desk phones. And that's like there's, soft phones, that's what you're using. When you use Teams on your computer with your headset, that's called a soft phone. And they are, they're much cheaper to do. So from a business perspective, you're constantly looking ways to cut expenses. So when you're looking at this list, and I appreciate you coming up with such a thorough list, because it lets us talk through some of the things that, hey, when we go to this convention, do we need to look for do we need to look at some local telephony, there's the word, telephony companies that might offer, okay, what's your soft phone systems? I mean, there's a lot of different companies, but just ways that we can save money that we can use for other things.
When we get out to past 5 years, we have all of our access points that run all of our wireless. Those kind of are almost swapped as needed. We tend to take the bigger ones that are getting outdated and moving them to smaller locations and putting newer ones in. They tend to work downhill a little bit, but at some point we're going to need to do kind of a major replacement. Every branch has a security camera server for to record all the video out there, and once in a while those have got to get upgraded. Same with security cameras. I don't know, that's probably a thing on Dustin's budget and that kind of stuff, but we'll have to figure that out. And then our generator somewhere out there in the distant land will need something.
Speaking of Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
can you give them an update on Green Valley? Is it with the AT&T and?
Yeah, so we're wanting to open Green Valley, but we're working with AT&T to get the primary internet connection there. And something I got to follow up with them after this meeting about. But we are putting in for the temporary, we're putting in 5G modem out there in service so we can get the branch open. And that's through T-Mobile. And it's actually working pretty good. So
a question going with that, around the city, I've been noticing a whole bunch of new 5G towers. And when they put those 5G towers on, they actually pay fees to whoever owns those towers. And so I'm wondering could a library be a hosting spot for one of the 5G towers, and then that be making money back for the community to have some type of service that we would offer, or to have that, it's just an option because we have so much properties.
we do host a tower and a spot at the Kearney location for a company called Bluebird, and it's for them to project wireless out. Yeah, and project wireless. So we do have a spot there. But I don't think too many other people have approached us about that, but about hosting a tower.
We might look into that, because that's like I will say residual income, but it's also a benefit because then, our branches have really strong connections. And since people rely on us to use hotspots and different types of things, it's really nice to have a place they could go if they.
We're fortunate that the Green Valley location is just in a direct line of sight of a brand new 5G tower.
Okay.
So that's
awesome.
why we contacted T-Mobile and they're like, oh yeah, there's a brand new tower right there. And so we put a 5G modem in the branch, and that's how we're going to run the branch to get started while we're waiting on AT&T.
So with that, having the 5G modem in the branch, one of the concerns, of course, with technology is the radiation, I guess, is what 5G is doing. I don't know if it's all radiation, but there's a lot of people that are concerned about the side effects of having this radiation basically into a confined environment, with whether you're going to have one of those in your home.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we need to look into the safety, like if we need to have some type of what is this putting off?
So it's just temporary.
Okay.
This is just to get the branch open while we wait on AT&T. As soon as we get AT&T fiber line completed, we turn that service off. So hopefully just a couple of weeks, 3 weeks is all it's going to be in there. The other thing is there's a modem. It's in a central closet off the back side of the building. And then the antenna for that is actually up on the roof. to do the cell signal. So it's not actually coming all the way into the building. We get it out there and bring it into the actual modem inside the building. So I would say it's probably pretty safe for all of that. It's not just a thing sitting on somebody's desk. It's actually racked up in a rack in a closet in the new network closet. And then we have a big antenna that's up on the roof of the building that's actually grabbing that 5G signal from T-Mobile.
Okay.
And bringing it into the building. So, and we do that for other stuff too, like a lot of our fax machine lines, all that kind of stuff we've converted over to cell, but it's all 4G. It's all 4G cellular.
Well, with
We
the-
use the antenna on the roof for that.
I mean, sometimes people take the 5G as a backup, like as a safeguard in case the AT&T goes out, that they would have that as a backup wireless. I don't know if that's something.
We don't have any of that out there currently. To be honest, we very rarely have an issue with our AT&T connections. It's just few and far between. Where we have it is where every 6 months they're digging up our yard out here and they dig up one of our fiber connections out here.
Isn't that frustrating?
So that's where we have our problem, is like right here. It's like right in front of this building.
When I worked at Cerner, we had all these
You'll see
data
what-
centers and backups and all this safety guards put in place and a
Yeah.
backhoe. It all sounds-
We've had it about every 6 months. The last one, they dug up our Bluebird fibers. About 9 of our branches were down for a day while Bluebird fixed that one. They didn't get our AT&T for once. But yeah, so that's, but really our AT&T fiber has been fantastic since we've had it. We very rarely have problems with it. It's all business grade stuff and we get E-rate funding back for it. So it's not costing us a lot to operate those. So the last piece was just the fundraising website. If we want to take a look at that real quick.
Right.
And these are just designs for the new site. They're just starting to build it now. So we'll take a look at that real quick. Oh, right. I don't want to do it that way. I want to do
So this fundraising,
For the foundation.
Yeah.
okay,
So this is Diana Ryder's. So she's working with our web design company to do this. And so this is sort of a first look at the site, some of the design. So you can see at the very top up there, it still kind of has our main navigation for getting back to the main library side or the genealogy center or Square One. That's the same as our site now. But they've got their own menu, their own look and feel. And then if you scroll on down, you can kind of see the basics of what the site's going to look like. And then the next page is kind of like the giving page. And so this is kind of like the first step if somebody wants to donate to the library. And you can see we've got a lot of nice new icons and a new look and feel. And this is all based on our current website. It's just a new look and feel for how we can do this. And then a lot of nice places for big pictures and things like that, because they like to highlight the things they're doing. On down, we've got the library lovers page, the landing page for that. Got unique background. This can all be changed up by Diana and her team. And I'd like to say Diana and her team have done all the work on this. They've done a fantastic job. Myself and Nathan Whitmire that take care of the website on a day-to-day basis. We've just been kind of making sure that it fits into our website and it works. But Diana and her team have done a great job of getting us to this point. So I give them all the credit on doing all this work. They'll still have to kind of import the real content in. This is just a layout for how the site is going to look in some of the colors. But yeah, they've done a great job on that.
it's nice to see the library lovers, like it's very easy to find on this page. As opposed to before, so kudos to Diane and her team for that.
She's on it.
So just some of the main pages that we're going to land people on. The site kind of has a similar theme, but this is all very easily changed up by Diana and her team. So if they want to highlight something and bring it to the top or put a big hero image or a big picture, they can do that. So yeah, it's like really cool. It's like really cool. I love this section here. This can all be clickable to get you to places. Very, very cool. Yeah, so that's it. That's kind of a first look at our site. We'll probably have, in a few weeks, couple, 3 weeks, we'll have kind of a working copy of it. We can take a look at. But right now, this is sort of a design look at the site. So, yeah.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're very excited about this. This
I like
is
all the
gonna,
pictures, makes it easier for.
yeah. And this is, the cool part about this is still based on our current website. All of our content, all of our structure underneath, it's all still based on that. So one of the things that Nathan and I are really excited about is this is giving us sort of a beta look at how we can do a refresh on the website. And so we're really excited about that.
And
And
what's the name of the company that you're using?
they're called Interpersonal Frequency. And they are based out of DC, and they are the ones who designed our website a few years ago for us. And they're doing this work, and this is all through money that Diana got also. So
I was gonna mention that. So the funding for this redesign comes courtesy of Kaufman. And to Brian's point, it's a great learning opportunity for us. We can think about how we
Absolutely,
can.
yeah.
nice thing is we don't have to re-import our content, do a complete website rebuild. We can actually rebuild pages on the fly and just, so this is huge for us.
Very
That's
nice.
great.
Behind the scenes.
So it's like a confluence, making a change, like for most websites, people have the ability to change little things, or maybe like if it's like SOPs or something like that, you can edit on the fly. It'll tell you who edited it last and why did you make this change at this day? And they're like, oh, I did that because this changed. Or it's really nice if you have that capability for internal pieces. So like if you have this is for more external, but then for an internal, you might have like at my company, we have a page called Einstein, and Einstein is for internal, like SOPs and stuff, which makes it really nice for people editing on the fly and managing and making sure that the procedures and guidelines are followed very closely. So where if you say staff, this is the way we do this, and then it's like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's in our SOP. This is what we do, how we have it for security. And then if you have a question, there's like security videos, like how do you, not letting people come into a building that you're badging into, not letting them, making sure everybody badges into. I mean, the rules that are in place are really nice to have in a well-designed website like that. So it looks nice. I like all the colors.
It's going to be really cool. It's going to be really, really cool. So we do keep the website. That's one of the nice things about it being hosted now is it's totally up to date all the time. It's got the latest software under it all the time. And with the new updates we're going to get here at the end of the year, we're going to be able to do some of this kind of neat stuff after the fact. So we're looking forward to this a lot. So
do you currently have an internal website as well, or do you use the main one?
so we use SharePoint.
Oh, you use SharePoint.
For our internet. Yeah.
Okay.
For internal. This is almost exclusively external. So
I'm just thinking about that.
Yeah.
So like all of your, for instance, in a SharePoint, you may be an executive and you may have a SharePoint that's more executive, and then you would have more of a SharePoint that would be for public access, right? So
for staff.
but you don't, to find things in a SharePoint is much harder, like sometimes to
Well,
do.
we went to SharePoint Online, and we did that a year ago. And now, because there's Teams and there's Teams SharePoint sites, we're redoing a lot of the department and branch sites to be more team oriented. So that way, if a branch wants to organize all of their documents for their team at the branch, they have a team site for that. And then there'll be informational pages from the departments to say, here's policy and procedures that you need to get to, and here's that kind of stuff. So we're actually making the SharePoint site used by the general staff a lot easier to navigate.
But it always has to be done through VPN. You have to come in to tunnel in. You have they have external access to your SharePoints.
SharePoint Online, yeah. The staff does.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to sign in as you to get to it. You have to sign into your Microsoft 365 account as you to get to it, but you can get to it. You don't have to, we don't host any of the SharePoint stuff internally anymore. It's all hosted by Microsoft.
Okay.
SharePoint Online. So yeah. Yeah, and we've had SharePoint for a long time. This is the SharePoint Online is like our third upgrade with it. So
Finding it, do you find it hard to find things? But just try and search for like different things.
the old one, yeah. The old one, yeah. We're getting there on the new one. So
Yeah.
we're working. We migrated the old site just verbatim into SharePoint Online. And now we're going back and upgrading all the team sites and all that stuff to new and improved. And we're going to separate where people work and collaborate from where people need to come to get official documents and that kind of stuff. So that's what we're doing now. So it's going to get nice and narrow.
It's amazing what a web you can
Yeah.
read once you go out there. That's why I was wondering how hard it was for you to find things.
Yeah, the old one was not great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so that's a look at the fundraising and foundation site. So that's what we have.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One thing I would like you to add to one of those slides, I think it was the slide where you're talking about like the future, if you back up like maybe 4 slides.
Mhm.
I mean, you might just mention that we talked about you guys here, like maybe here or on the previous page. Go to the previous page, let me see. So yeah, this one. So like maybe on this thing, if you want to talk about like 5-year needs, and then maybe underneath that, put like another to just say we might look into some solar, just so that, because if we just mention it to because, you know, when you're on a board and you have so many diverse people, someone say, hey, I have the right contact for you. And I just don't want to forget to mention it, like when you're showing the things that you're talking about. So it just, while it's on my mind, just to say it's something that we might look into. And then it's, you never know. You mention it and somebody help us down a path that will, save us millions. So
Given the amount of sunshine we had this year, so
Been a lot.
it's a great idea. It's also important to note that this list is really from an IT perspective, but how we incorporate technologies into collections and programming would be a separate discussion entirely. Because we do have plans for what the integration of technology into the user experience would look like from a programming perspective. But we're not really at the point where we're ready to have a public conversation about it.
This is all pretty much infrastructure stuff.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, keeping track of like as security, like just like, but one thing I do want to mention based on what you said, I made myself a note on it. I want to come back to it. You had mentioned that we might upgrade our computers, and with our, like, people taking 60 of our computers, what I'm wondering is, as opposed to selling maybe our laptops back to another company that's going to refurbish or refresh and sell, I'm wondering if we could, as we're upgrading our technology, sell some of ours to the public. Like if we had some type of I'm just throwing it out there as an idea. It may be, because I know it's really easy to just say, hey, we'll take all of your hardware from you and we'll give you X amount. But I'm just wondering if the need is so great that we could make it to where, somebody might be able to buy that back, to use like a PC or something.
The last batch, this is the first time we've actually pretty much just owned everything. The last time they released and we just turned them all back into Dell and we got new ones. There are some programs out there like PCs for People and things like that where you can donate some to them and they will refurb them. And as people need those for home or they're going through job qualifications and things like that, they can get a PC through that program. So that may be something we can look at as a way to kind of give back to the community a little bit. And then after that, I don't know. We haven't actually owned these devices for a long time. So the last batch was a lease. So it's something we're going to have to look at is what we can do with them when it's time
are we leasing now or we're owning?
No, we own them all now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, because I know a lot of them, you know, it's like when you're upgrading, if we could do that, and then there's other companies that'll buy them from you for a great, I mean, it's amazing the amount of money that they'll give you back to buy all the PCs back. But I was just thinking if we had something, you know, ones that didn't have problems on them, that they could be wiped and have those available. And I know that PCs for people might be from all over. I like it to stay in our own community.
They can do that. They can do that. There's a local office for PCs for people here, so they can absolutely do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, well, thank you. I
Yeah.
just wanted to mention that was on my mind.
Absolutely. So it's something we're gonna have to think about when the time comes, so.
Any other business? Joycelyn, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for Brian. This has been a lot of work to put this all together and help us to think forward about our needs. One thing I did want to say is part of what we do in our current job is refurbishing computers. It takes a lot of time, so I would not recommend us doing that in-house. Like Brian said, PCs for People has an organization right here. I work with them through my job, and they do a wonderful job of getting things out. I think it would be good to look to our current partners, but no, I would not recommend doing that in-house. It would take up much more revenue than it would bring in. So that's all I want to say.
All right, any other business?
Just a great job, Brian. Thanks for all your hard work. And I know it takes a lot of time to assemble everything, but I love the way I love your presentation and outlining everything. It makes it a lot more helpful for
Appreciate it.
sort of a techie.
I try to keep it pace level. We can get into the weeds pretty easy, so.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. So I'm learning a lot just sitting here today, so that's cool.
Yeah. There's a lot to doing all of this.
Oh, my.
You got 35 locations. There's a lot to it. Yeah.
All right, if no other business, what's the next one? Last one, adjournment.
That's it.
Do I have a motion?
I move to adjourn.
I second.
Yay, all right, then we are adjourned.
All right.
Thank you, Cody.
See you, Joycelyn.